What's going on, guys? Billy here, and I'm not in my usual spot where I shoot my videos, but I still wanted to cover an update to the DJI Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom that happened a couple of days ago. Now, this update version is version 01.00.0100, and these are the changes that we got. There's nothing all that new except for various improvements to features that are already available in the drone. The first change in this update is regarding flight speed and duration during hyperlapse. Now, if you remember a video I made a little over a week ago, we got an update to the DJI Go app that introduced these functions, but I was unable to really do anything. The speed was set to 1.1 miles per hour and wasn't able to be changed. It seems like that update for the app came before the firmware for the drone, so now I'm able to do both of these things. So if I wanted to say shoot a course log hyperlapse, then I could set my course, set my duration, the interval, as well as set the speed between 1.1 miles per hour and 4.5 miles per hour. Here's an example of a hyperlapse taken at that maximum speed of 4.5 miles per hour, and just for reference, it took my drone 10 minutes to fly 3,000 feet, capture 300 photos, and create this 10-second hyperlapse. So that change in speed during hyperlapse, bumping it up from 1.1 miles per hour to 4.5 miles per hour, allows you to cover a lot more distance. So you could theoretically take a hyperlapse that's over a mile long with the 31-minute flight time that the Mavic 2 Pro and Mavic 2 Zoom have. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that hyperlapses are awesome, but in my personal opinion, I don't think that they're really all that effective from a drone's perspective. Sometimes you get that shake, it's not super smooth. It's nice to see that DJI is making these strides to make the Quickshot, the hyperlapse Quickshot, as good as possible, or as good as it can be, but at the end of the day, it's just a feature I don't really use all that much. Another change that I noticed when shooting hyperlapses is the ability to extend them while shooting. So when I press this clock icon on the screen down by the hyperlapse status bar, it adds on more pictures, thus making my hyperlapse extend for a longer distance. Now, I can't remember if this was there before the update, as I really didn't use the hyperlapse function all that much, but nonetheless, this definitely comes in handy. The next significant change is the ability to disable your obstacle avoidance sensors by assigning the action to one of the customizable buttons on the back of the remote. I always flip back and forth between having them turned on and turned off depending on the situation that I'm in, so it's great that I can now do this with the push of a button instead of digging through the settings. Just a reminder, you can always use this icon at the top of the screen to see which sensors are turned on and which are turned off. Green means that the sensors are on and red means they're turned off. Our next change comes in quick shots, but actually still has to deal with the obstacle avoidance sensors. So in helix, circle, and boomerang, the drone flies sideways in sort of a circular motion, which leaves it vulnerable to crashes, but those side obstacle avoidance sensors are now turned on. And you can see when we say go to start a helix, for example, the icon in the top right illuminates the side sensor indicators green, so you'll feel comfortable letting your drone fly itself, as it will scan for obstacles and avoid them accordingly. So finally, at the bottom of the patch notes, this update, or this firmware update, brought some new optimizations to the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom. One was for active track, another was for flight stability, and another was also for image quality for panoramic pictures. Now, in terms of active track, I really don't use it all that much. I never like to follow myself. I'm usually trying to film some scenery or film boats or just film a different subject, so I don't use active track all that much. I can't tell you if it got better or worse. In my opinion, it's already good enough, so I don't know how they could have improved it any better. But in terms of the Panorama, I actually tested a Panorama before on the old firmware and then another on the new firmware, and here they are side by side. I really can't tell a difference, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, I'd always recommend just taking those images that you shoot of the Panorama and stitching them together yourself in, say, Photoshop or Lightroom, just because it gives you such a better look to the image. It looks so much better, and also you can actually edit those photos before they're stitched together, which again just makes it look a lot better than that synthesized photo coming out of the DJI Go app. Now, in terms of that final optimization made to the flight stability, I really didn't think it would make all that much of a difference, but as it begins to get a little bit more windy up here during the fall season up north in Philadelphia, it really does seem to be making a difference. Like, my drone isn't even wavering when there's the strongest gusts of wind, and also when I'm filming those hyperlapses, they seem to be a little bit more smooth just because the drone can now fly a little bit more stably. So it's crazy to think that DJI can just implement this into one of their drones in a software update or a firmware update and make their drone fly better, and it really does make me optimistic for further updates to come from DJI for these new Mavic 2 drones. Anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video. This is basically everything that was changed in this latest firmware update, and I'm excited to see DJI continue to bring more features to these new drones. But guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.